Hello, welcome. I'm Sarah Alice, and this Yin practice is all about patience. We are so often impatient with elements in our life, wanting things to happen quicker, and just so busy in the process of planning or getting from A to B that the ability to actually just sit with oneself is becoming more and more challenging. And I know for me that is one of the biggest hurdles I experience during a Yin yoga practice. My body loves to flow. I very much connect to that yang energy, but my nervous system, more than anything, really needs the opportunity to sit and be patient and be part of that process. So this practice is only a little one tonight. But it's one that is going to help us really connect to that. We are going to start in child's pose. So I do have a bolster here. You're welcome to bring a bolster in if you wish, but for the time being, I'm just going to place it down to the base of the mat. And we're just going to spend about a minute in child's pose to begin with. So taking the big toes together and the knees come slightly wider than hip distance apart. Going to feed our elbows down onto the floor, and it might be that you pause here. It might be that you create two fists, stack one fist on top of the other and release the forehead down, or it might be that you even take the hands to the top of the mat and allow the forehead to come down to the earth. And just allowing those sit bones to become heavy on the heels. And feel that grounding through the palms and through the forearms, through the shins, tops of the feet. You can close your eyes down here and also feel that sense of grounding through the forehead. And just allow the breath to gently flow in through the nose. Feel it travel all the way down into the lungs, that expansion into the side of the lungs, into the side of the ribs, into the back of the body. Really looking to get that 360-degree expansion through the lungs, through the diaphragm. And just allow the thoughts to quieten. We can't necessarily turn the thoughts off, but we can certainly quieten the noise by bringing the focus to the breath. And take a few more rounds of breath here. And then just slowly start to ease the hands back up towards the knees, rolling up through the spine. And then just easing the sit bones off to the side. We're going to come now into butterfly pose, but before we do that, having taken that bend of the knees, it might be quite nice just to shuffle out the knees, the legs, just to release. And then we're going to bring the soles of the feet together for butterfly pose. Interlacing the fingers around the front of the feet, so over the toes. If you find that your knees are really coming up, you're very welcome to place some blocks underneath here if you need a bit of support. And likewise, you can bring the feet further apart if you need a little bit more space and create more of a diamond shape within the legs and come forward from there if that's more appropriate, more comfortable for you. You can also bring bolster in if you're feeling particularly tight. Love the bolster, and you can always rest the head here like so. I'm going to work a little bit harder than with the bolster today because I'm sure my hips are going to appreciate it. So interlacing the fingers here, I'm going to draw the breath in and then exhale, start to bow the head down towards the earth. Now the weight of my elbows on my calves is allowing the opening through the pelvis. And I'm not going to lie, initially as I come into this, I can really feel that target area of the hips start to fire up. And it's a sensation that is not, I'm not going to call it pleasant, it's sensational. And this practice of yin is all about that. It is being patient with ourselves to not react, not to come out and just be here in this moment and practice that patience of spending time and allowing that time without trying to move it on and rush it, or we can. I'm being patient because, like everything in life, this pose is impermanent. It's not going to last forever, just a few minutes. And bring the focus back to the breath. And just allow the head to hang if that's okay. It's funny because normally when I practice yin, I would put on some meditation music, some calming music, and actually practicing in silence is another challenge for me. And all I can hear is the clock in the kitchen next door. And again, it's that ticking, that reminder to be patient. It's quite a good sound effect actually to accompany me this evening. And of course, if you need to come out, come out. But if it's just that challenge of staying in sensation, if it feels like a safe stretch, then stay and breathe here. And stay for about 5 or 6 more rounds of breath. Allow the breath to be slow and mindful. Again, we're not rushing it. And then very, very slowly, when you are ready to exit out, unraveling through the spine. Now the hips can feel a little bit vulnerable here, so I'm going to take the hands to the outer edge of the knees and physically help the knees back into the midline. Taking the rebound now, and it might be that your rebound involves movement and flow, so just allowing the knees to flow from side to side. You might lengthen the legs long. Just take a moment and just feel that chi, that energy that you have drawn into the outer edges of the hips, and that's what this practice is about. It's influencing where the chi, the life force, flows to stimulate the meridians of the body. I'm not going to get too much into the meridians in this session. It's more just about the doing and the being. So from here, we are going to come into dangling This is a great one for changing the way in which we perceive the world, because we're going to come upside down and be inverted. And a lovely way to change the flow of energy, because we're changing the gravitational pull that's happening within our bodies, within our organs. So I'm going to start from standing. I'm going to plant the feet down about hip distance apart. I'm going to hinge at the pelvis and ease the hands onto the floor. And again, you might bring your bolster in or blocks. You can take the feet a little bit wider than hip distance if you prefer. Now I'm fairly open in my hamstrings, so I'm actually going to allow my forearms to come onto the bolster. But for you, just come into a place of sensation that is going to feel appropriate for you. You can, of course, keep a bend in the knees, but we're going to allow the head to dangle here. We're going to allow that flow of blood to come into the head. Great way for equalizing the sinuses. Of course, if you do feel any compression in the sinuses that's not comfortable, then come out. And likewise, if you have glaucoma or any such conditions, this is not for you. I'm actually going to move the bolster. There's nothing wrong with moving your props halfway through a pose. You might even just take the hands to opposite elbows and really allow the dangling part to be prevalent. So helping with venous return, blood to the heart. My heart is higher than my head. And so that gravitational pull on the organs has literally flipped. So there's space now within the fascia that was not there before, the fascia, the connective tissue that connects the organs, and space to allow that oxygenated blood to flow in. And that oxygen in the blood replenishes the cells, can draw out toxins so the body can eliminate them, and juices up the fascia. And stay here for about 5 more rounds of breath. And then to exit out, I'm actually going to come back down to the earth. I'm going to bring my knees down. I'm going to come into Virasana, to Thunderbolt, and just pause here. That bend in the knees feels quite nice. And I can feel the blood start to filter down from the head, from the arms down to the fingers. Again, just pausing in the rebound. No place to be, nothing that we need to do, just be present and patient. And so from here, we're going to come into a pose called Dragon. I'm going to move the bolster out of the way and bringing the right foot forward. By all means, you can pad out that left knee if you need to with a cushion or a blanket. And I'm going to feed the pelvis forward to a place that feels comfortable for you. So I'm initiating a stretch through the hip flexor. I'm going to interlace the fingers over the thighs here. And I'm going to allow my weight of the pelvis, allow the weight of the pelvis to bring me into that stretch. And hopefully bring you into the stretch as well. So this one does have a little bit more yang energy in it. I've got that support there of the leg, but there's some muscle activation through the arms. I'm going to try and relax the shoulders down as much as possible. And in this practice, if you want to close your eyes, it's a nice thing to do. It helps you go within. Just noticing all of those sensations. Now you can bring the hands down if you feel like you need a little bit more support. You can also bring the hands onto blocks. But for this one, if you can, stay with the fingers interlaced over the thigh. Not over the knee, we don't put any pressure on that joint, but just over the thigh. Really starting to build that heat now into that left hip flexor. Nice. A couple more rounds of breath. And then to come out, I'm going to ease the hips back very gently. And my body's telling me that I really want to stretch out the hamstrings. I'm going to take a little bow here. You might come into child's pose, you might come on to all fours and just take some circles of the pelvis, of the shoulders, taking that space in between the sides. No rush to come straight onto the second side, allowing that time for the rebound. Nice. And then we'll sit up on the other side. Now one side may feel very different from the other. And if you don't want to close your eyes, it might be find a drishti, point to focus on in front of you. Allow the gaze to soften. When doing yin, when teaching yin, as some of you who've been practicing with me for a while will know, I interject some information potentially about what's happening in the body, within the chakras, within the meridians. And I think that is something that I need to work on, actually. I think that a lot of the feedback I get is that it helps people to ground, to stay present, just the tone of my voice. But there's so much to be said for silence. Not only for you, but for me as a teacher to hold that space without that need to fill it can be really powerful. And silence doesn't need to be awkward. Just checking with your arms there. Make sure you're not tensing too much. Taking about 5 more rounds of breath here. Slow, slow, slow exit. Taking any movement or stretching that you need. I'm actually going to take a downward facing dog here, just to pedal out the legs. Pedal out the feet. And then ease back onto hands and knees. So our next pose is going to be pigeon pose. We're going to lift the right knee and take the right knee towards the outer edge of the right wrist. Now in a vinyasa practice, I'm all about the alignment of the hips. In yin, the focus is very, very much on the sensation. So target area here is going to be outer edge of that right hip. So if you need to take a little lean off to the side to get into that area or make the knee comfortable, then please do. We're going to ease the forearms down, and I'm going to bring the bolster in here. You can use the bolster or cushion just to rest the head, and then the palms ground. I'm going to soften through all of the muscles to allow myself to feel supported by the props, by the earth. And just breathe into where you're feeling sensation. Just to know if you feel any tingling in the feet here, or even the hands. Pins and needles as such do come out, take a movement. Pins and needles are not dangerous in the body, but they can lead to numbness, and that can lead to nerve damage. So always listen to those warning signs. And that's what we're doing here. We're listening to the feedback the body is giving us. When you start to hear that wisdom, then we know how to nurture ourselves and our energies. What it is that the body is needing, whether it needs to be rested or stimulated. Or anything else in between. Do make adjustments if you need to. Yes, in this art of yin, this practice, first principle is to find your edge, to come into sensation. The second is to find stillness. But within that second principle, as the body starts to relax and adjust, then I find a little bit of adjustment in the position that you're in can really support the purpose of the pose. And then of course we stay for a little while, that being the third principle. to allow us to bypass those superficial tissues of the muscles and get into the connective tissues. A few more rounds of breath. Slowly, gently starting to bring the hands back towards the pelvis, easing out of the pose. I might choose to lengthen that leg along. Really feel the difference of energy between the right leg and the left. And then we'll draw the left knee towards the left wrist, setting ourselves up on the other side, making any adjustments. And then coming down into sensation. So you may have heard when coming into pigeon, or swan actually, as we call it in yin, excuse me for calling it pigeon earlier. Same but different. And just in case you're wondering why they have different names, is because the intention is different. So pigeon is very much used in hatha and vinyasa. Yes, it's used to stimulate the prana. And in yin, the intention is different because we're looking to hold the pose, to stimulate the chi. And you can argue that chi and prana are the same thing, life force, energy. Difference being that prana coming from the Indian lineage and chi coming from the traditional Chinese medicine lineage. But the intention is for us not to get into the muscle, as I said previously. It's to go deeper, to penetrate into those connective tissues, so the fascia, the joints, ligaments, tendons. To get into that deeper healing aspect. And actually, I think because I'm actually holding these poses with you, I just went off in a little Zen moment there. So what I was going to say is that often in a vinyasa, you might hear the teacher say that if the forehead is midnight on the left-hand leg, left-hand side, you want that knee to be about 10 o'clock. If it's on the right-hand side, it'd be about 2 o'clock. And again, that is very much a distinct alignment, and it's not suitable for everybody. So if you have a knee issue, then there's nothing to say that you can't bring that knee in, decrease that angle, and that actually feels much more supportive on the knee. But I want you to have a play and find where your edge is. Where do you need to go? Don't worry about how it looks. Just connect with how it feels. Taking about 5 more rounds of breath here. Slowly starting to ease back up. Coming out as if you are 100 years of age. Feeling the difference now between the legs. Having just worked into the left, feeling the energy there, but maybe feeling a sense of equilibrium because you have worked equally into both sides. Hopefully that the pelvis feels balanced. And from here, I'm going to come onto the belly and into Sphinx pose. So for Sphinx pose, forearms are down. Now a little shuffle here just to feel an equal imprint of the pelvis onto the mat. You're going to allow the feet to separate and for the legs to totally relax. I don't want any activation through the glute or the thighs. And then broadening through the chest. So it might be that the lowest rib is lifted. It might be that actually that extension of the spine is too much for you, in which case you can either press the pubic bone into the mat and change the angle, but that's going to involve a little bit of yang energy there and the activation of the glutes. So I would say a better option is just to take the arms a little wider and come down, and you might again bring your bolster in to rest the head. And with your heels, you'll have a natural either internal rotation or external rotation within the hips. So it might be that the heels come in towards the midline, they might come out towards the outer edges of the mat or somewhere near the middle. Just allow them to flop in any direction that you like. How's that patience coming on? Are you thinking about what you're doing after this class? All of those thoughts are so valid, but just try and be here in this present moment. Bring the focus back to the breath.
all those environmental noises that you may hear. Clock, humming of the fridge, electrical implements within the house, sound of traffic outside. Two ways to approach it. You can allow that sense of the hearing to fully immerse yourself into the present, because you are dog barking there, experiencing them. Or again, you might just turn down in volume, practicing pratyahara, that withdrawing of the senses and going within. Last few rounds of breath here. Easing any props out of the way. Now, having done the extension of the spine, my body is telling me that it wants to come into flexion. So I'm going to transition back onto all fours and take a cat stretch here. Chin draws to the chest to expand through the shoulders. You might take some cows as well. Nice. And then we're going to come into our penultimate pose. We're going to come into dragonfly. So this one's going to bring the focus, the target area, into the inner thighs. We've already done the external rotation of the hips with butterfly. So take your legs into a straddle position. It doesn't matter how wide apart it is, it really depends on your range of motion. I'm going to go fairly wide for me, but I am going to bring my friend the bolster in. Now for you, if you are feeling tight in the inner thighs, and most people do because this is an area that we don't really work on, we don't do a lot of plying in our everyday life, we don't have to stretch all that much into these areas, so take it really gently and don't force anything. This is a gentle inquiry into finding our edge, the edge being the place where we're no longer in our comfort zone, we're not in pain. It's that knife edge in between. So like in sensation, but it's bearable, and we know that it's a good stretch, that traction of the tissues that leads to the stretch. So if that's you, bolster can come underneath the head like so. And if you do have a bit more space to work with, you can come down onto your bolster. I'm going to lean forward here and get that stretch from my spine as well. Now you may also feel a lengthening through the lower back. It's a nice spinal stretch. You might choose to keep the spine long. Settle yourself in. And just allow the body to soften. Notice if you're clenching your jaw, soften that as well. And notice the sensations within the body. Where do you feel that chi, that energy? So I just took a little adjustment of a scratch to my face there. I do have a friend who teaches Yin, and he does take that second principle very seriously. Like if a mosquito were to land on him, he would not flick it off. He would just be in the moment. And he is a massive inspiration to me. I'm not quite there yet, but you never know. It might come with time. See, I'm just adjusting there a little bit to go deeper into the stretch because my body has softened into it. And that is essentially the muscles, when you first come into sensation, will activate to stop you from overstretching. It's a fantastic reflex within the muscles. And then once the body knows that it's safe, it's not going to pull anything, then the muscles will relax. And that's when the magic really starts to happen, is when we start to get into those deeper tissues. In fact, I'm even going to move again. Okay. I invite you to stay here for one more minute, thereabouts. Hopefully the nervous system is nice and calm now. Coming into that rest and digest. Slowly starting to come on out. Taking rebound. And we'll come into our final pose. But by all means, take longer in your rebound if you need it. Final pose this evening is going to be waterfall. Really lovely way to release any stagnating energy from the legs. So it might be that you bring a folded blanket, cushion, or bolster block to elevate the pelvis here. So coming to lie down on the spine. We'll bring a bend into the knees for a bridge pose because we're going to press down through the feet to elevate the pelvis up and slip your prop underneath. You could also do legs up the wall if you have a wall nearby. So in that case, you might not even need a prop underneath. And then I'm going to extend the legs up towards the ceiling. Now, when I first started doing this pose, I thought, I surely have to try and make an effort to keep the legs in place, and it can't be that relaxing. But actually, they just kind of stay there and do their own thing. It's good. And I'm going to bring the hands down by the sides of the body. You can have the palms facing up, or you can have them facing down. Just make sure that the cervical spine, the back of the neck is comfortable. And close the eyes down here. Lovely way to bring a neutral energy into the pelvis. And to relax. So again, soften through the jaw, soften through the brow. Allow all the thoughts of the day just to be at bay, just to be outside of the room, not on your mat. If they try to creep in, again, come back to the breath, to that intention of being present and patient. Being aware of all the sensations. You might feel the pulsating of blood in the fingertips. How do the legs feel being elevated? What do you notice? And what this actually does, the blood flow comes to around the belly. And if you think about when you've eaten a meal, this is what happens as well. The blood comes in to help with digestion. And when you get that sleepy feeling after you've had a big meal, it does the same thing. It just induces that state of relaxation because it is the rest and digest. The body needs to be in the parasympathetic nervous system to digest its food and to rest. Give yourself permission to soften and pause. Five or six more rounds of breath here. Relaxing the feet back down to the earth. Maybe taking a full stretch if that feels available within your spine. Do bring the feet back down to the earth for that little lift of the sacrum, rolling down through the spine. Give yourself a hug full of love and gratitude for taking this time to give back to yourself. And then gentle roll off to the right hand side. Pausing for a moment or two. Gathering up the energy and then coming up into a seated position. And bringing the hands together in heart center, or just gently over the heart, whether it feels most comfortable for you. And we'll close this session now. Thank you for joining me, and I hope that you have a blissful evening and a great night's rest. Namaste.